So we are here. We have made a minor adjustment to the Bounce House deck that we played last time, which is to add the Most Diabolical Scheme. This is a 3-cost song that allows you to banish a villain of yours, to banish a chosen character. The reason that we're adding this is it gives you a cheap, often even free if you sing it, removal spell that you can use against things like Arthur, Sad Beast, and other like priority, gotta get these off the board sort of targets. To fit them in, we shaved one Maui, we cut one of the spell books. They are uninkable, so we didn't want to cut too many inkables for it. But I think this will give us a little bit more options as far as like hard targeted removal, as opposed to something that relies on them attacking first, and it should be good against things like Arthur, which were the decks that we were struggling with a little bit. Not a ton, but they were the decks that we did lose a little bit against, like the orange-gray and the purple-gray. Sorry, the orange-purple and the purple-gray. Arthur being a key component in those losses, so I thought we'd try out this version. It should be pretty similar. I believe that there are like 19 villains. There's 2 Tremaines, that's 1, 2, 6. Maleficent technically is, so that's 10. Both of the Mims in this, so that's 22 plus the Yzmas, which should put us at 25, looks like. 26. So there's a reasonable enough number. The ones that really matter are like the Maleficent Sorcerer and like the little Lady Tremaine and things like that. The ones that we would ideally want to be using on them. Maybe a Mim, one of the Mims if they've already done something useful. But a reasonable handful of our things are villains. So there's plenty of targets for it. And we'll see how we like it realistically, because that's all that we can do is we can try it. I've been asked about it, and I thought we would give it a chance. I know that it has been tested to be quite good against some of the spots where this deck can struggle, so given that, I think it's worth at least exploring, especially if we're drawing a lot of cards. It gives us a little bit more to work with there, so. This hand is a little slow, especially going second. We can get rid of these for sure. I'm considering getting rid of a Maleficent, but I think we can keep them. We'll just get rid of these 2. Well, that makes our hand even slower, so hopefully our opponent's not on something too fast. They are on Steel Song, likely. It's fine, as they go. Not the most exciting hand ever. I would have liked a 1-drop. Oh, they're on yellow-blue. Okay. They opted to play Lantern instead of like 1 jump ahead. That's interesting. That is interesting. I'm thinking this goat can go. I'd like to play the Maleficent down, but we could also do the Minnie Mouse and use it to Teeth and Ambitions the Queen as well. That's another option. Tamatoa, so this is like a blue-yellow items style of deck. Ah, I see. They kill the Lantern with their Flaversham and draw 2 cards. Okay, I can appreciate that. Get rid of a second goat. Ugh. Yeah. Given the way that our hand's sort of shaping up, it's kind of what I feel like we have to do. Alright, we found a Mim here, so if the Flaversham attacks, we can actually attack into it, or challenge into it with the Maleficent, bounce that with the Mim Fox it, and then we can take it out. Interesting that they're opting to... I kind of like this engine. It's cute at the very least. I don't know if it's necessarily, like, amazing, but it seems cute. Alright, so they've done nothing here, so let's do... Let's do this. And then bounce this. Hit it again. Thinking that maybe the Minnie Mouse is not what we need in this spot. Given that we are going to have to be on the control a little bit here. Our opponent's drawn quite a few extra cards. And they have Eye of Fate as well, so that's kind of tricky for us. So we're definitely not on the aggressive here. Interesting section of items. I would have expected them to use the Eye of Fates if they were... I see. I still think they should have used the Eye of Fates then. I suppose it's fine that they didn't for us, but a bit of an odd choice there. I'd like to get a little bit more board presence. I think I'm going to start with a Maleficent here. I could teeth this right away. I think I'd rather just get rid of a teeth here. And I think I'm just going to play this and bounce it again. Because if our opponent has a tapped queen next turn, we can just, like, Mim it, keep our Mim alive, and then we can start playing our Tremaines out. Cogsworth is a little annoying here, but that's fine. Especially if they do opt to just quest with everything. We still then have the ability to play Tremaines, and we can still deal with some pretty priority targets here. They opt to just quest with Alice. Let's see. Okay. I'm okay with that. I think I'd like them to still commit more cards to the board, but this is 1, 2, 3, 4, so she needs to get to 10, which is going to be tricky. I think I'm just going to play double Maleficent here. Interesting. We'll save maybe one of them then. I think I still play them both. I think we do something like this, and then we just be prepared. Like, honestly, all of our cards, for the most part, have drawn another card, and theirs haven't. So we are pretty resource heavy versus a not very resource heavy draw over here. They've drawn 4 extra cards, but they've pretty well used most of them. So we can be in a position where they're going to gain a bunch of lore this turn with the queen here. I find that to be interesting. They do have enough to get it all the way there, so I guess I should have diabolicaled it last turn then. So they're going to gain another 5, 6, jeez. Yeah, that's a lot. That is a lot. Be prepared. We say go. And now we have the ability to Lady Tremaine and clean up whatever they're doing, hopefully. We even have the Diabolical Mim combo here. Nick Wilde and a Cruella. I think I'm supposed to get rid of, weirdly, this Mim Fox. And I'll show you why here. Because we're intending on... I guess it's a little awkward, because if they sack the Cruella, which is most likely to happen, then the Teeth doesn't really do anything. But we'll see. Maybe they'll pick the Nick Wild here. Yeah, they did not. So then I guess I didn't need to do that first. So that was maybe a mistake. I don't think I'm supposed to play out the Mim. I think I'm just supposed to pass here. Now I kind of wish I had my Fox back. If they play another Eye of Fates, they've got us dead to rights here. They played Hades. Hades is fine. Fox would have still been the best card for us here. But we do have a way of cleaning this up. We can Tremaine and then Diabolical our Tremaine. Okay, Tremaine. Hey, Cluck, yeah, but alright. Yeah, it wouldn't be a mod. Banish a villain. Banish an opponent's card. Alright, we pass. Who wants to get banned? Drunk with power. Alright, so we have to basically remove everything that our opponent does for the rest of the game. But that is very possible. Okay, so we do that. I'm pretty sure that I should play this Mim out. So that we have the Tremaine in hand in case they draw Hades. Because that would be a bit of a disaster. Because if we don't have our Tremaine, then we don't have the ability to clean up what they're doing. Popsicle's a good draw from our opponent. Cycle a little bit deeper. Double Popsicle. Slaversham would be a very sick draw off the top for them. Okay, so we conquest. We draw 3 cards, or 2 cards rather. We play some stuff from our hand, Tremaine, Minnie Mouse, and say go. So I think that we're going to be able to turn the corner here, though if they're able to play 2 cards that we can't interact with in one turn, then that will be a little scary. Bash, 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 bash. This doesn't really speed up the clock a ton. And I think I'd rather keep the removal in my hand. So it allows us to play the Tremaine and then bounce it back. Okay, this. We can Yzma away. Olaf, draw a couple cards. A couple more of these dorks. Say go. And I think we'll be okay here. Believe that we have enough to lure out at this point. So we were kind of surprised by the combo right in the middle there, but we were able to sort of claw our way back, so that's good. That was something that was sort of theorized really early on, like the Alice plus the Queen combo, as something that was pretty tricky to deal with, and a way to get a lot of lore very quickly. So they get rid of Yzma. That's fine. We still have the ability to shift the Lady Tremaine and get the 6, so they concede, which makes sense. Pretty close game, though. Pretty close game. Yeah, the scheme felt good. It could have easily been like a Dragonfire, I think, and it still would have been fine. Though there was a spot there where we were able to sort of double spell with it because it was scheme instead of Dragonfire, which is nice. So I can definitely see the value in the slightly lower cost, because we have so many random villains, which is interesting. I like the idea sometimes that you can sing with your Maleficent Sorcerer and then just throw it at an Arthur or whatever, because that is one of the ways that this deck can get buried, is with an unchecked Arthur just going hard. It's nice to be able to have some removals for it, or even like an opposing Minnie Mouse or whatever. Okay, so we go second. We've got some 3-drops. We probably don't need both Minnie Mouse Surfers. One is usually fine as a 3-drop that we can play. We have a little bit of early interaction. We have our Tremaine payoff. I think this is one that's a pretty easy mulligan. That's a good draw, actually. That's a pretty good draw, because now we can Maleficent into Minnie, Tremaine, and then we have some 3-drop options into Tremaine Shift, and then if we don't use the Mim or don't need it for whatever reason, then we can shift back this Tremaine to do it again. So it looks like this is probably Steel Song, which means, oh, they just concede. Okay, fair enough. We take those. We take those. I probably would have battled there, but I'm fine if they want to leave. No problems with that. Just queue back in. Yeah, the being able to double spell is always it's always an interesting position in mid-range / control decks like this, because the way that the more aggressive or kind of low to the ground decks are able to sort of edge out control decks is generally by doing multiple things in a turn. And if your answer to that is you just play one thing a turn, sometimes you can get ran over. So if you can find a way to double spell, the songs are a good option there. And if you can double spell with them, then they end up being quite strong. So we go second, which makes these a little worse. Maybe we just keep one Fox, something like this. That's an awful lot of goats. But overall, I don't hate the hand. It all comes down to how strong this Mim feels. So this is likely a flute deck of some sort. Given that they got rid of a song that really doesn't see a lot of play outside of the flute decks. It's mostly just cantrips. So I'm fine if they quest, I'm fine if they don't. We're likely running out the Tremaine either way. If they quest, it just has their character tapped. Yeah, so they are flute deck. So we'll have to see how this deck matches up against the flutes. It may not be particularly strong, or we may not be particularly favored into it either. But we have the Tremaine, which is nice. I think we'll just quest Olaf and say go. We do have the Mim Fox that we can bash and eat something if they have it attacked. If they shift, I'm still probably fine doing that. Grab your sword. Okay, that's pretty spooky for us. They opt to do nothing. I think that's reasonable. So they have grab your swords. So I'm debating just bouncing this Tremaine back to hand to put this Fox into play. And we can do that by, we'll just quest with everything, put Tremaine back in hand. say go. I'm likely going to try and keep a Maui, because there are some instances where Maui can be quite strong. I'm trying to get a little bit of early lore in, so that we can try to close out the game, rather than waiting for the flute to kill us eventually. Because the flutes really do have the ability to close out the game. They have a lot of reach. We'll see if they want to grab your swords. I guess they do. Let's see, so they wanted to light your Storm Rage on them in. That's fine. Unfortunately, we're going to be in this awkward position if they slam the queen into this Olaf. Where... Oh, thank goodness. Okay. So let's quest here first. We'll bash here. We must get rid of something in our hand. We don't necessarily need the Maleficent for the draw. I'd rather get the Olaf back onto the field, I think. It's not the most exciting card, the Olaf, but I want a little bit more just stuff on the board. But I am hopefully able to play this Maui next turn. To try and compete with what they're doing. I sure hope that the card that they have in their hand is Wheel, because otherwise they're not in a really good spot here. I hate that so much. I'm just going to get rid of the goat. I shouldn't have played the Olaf. I should have used it for ink. It's fine that I did, but it should just be ink, I think. Okay, so we do this, we bash. If we get behind a little bit, we have the Tremaine plus Diabolical Scheme as well. There's another flute. Alright. Olaf here. Draw 2 cards. Draw 2 cards. Just gonna play Tremaine. I was considering inking one of these, but I'd rather... I guess we could have inked the Maleficent Sorcerer since we have the rabbit. They cast 0 to hero to get into lore. Okay. I might have kept that because I assume that their deck has some bigger payoffs, but I can appreciate wanting to get in some damage here. Take a rabbit. Draw a card. Yeah, we should have inked this last turn. I don't think it really changes our hand that much, but... we're just never going to have time to really run that out. Yeah, the Aladdin package is unfortunately just, like, incredibly slow. Even in the more dedicated ramp decks, like in the blue-red, it still feels, like, really slow, which is unfortunate. Play Tremaine. We could clean up all of their cards if we Diabolical, then they would just have nothing on the field. So then they wouldn't have their shift target either. I think I'll wait, because our only thing that we can get rid of is Lady Tremaine right now, so I think we can wait. Yeah, so they cycle their Painting the Roses red for the flutes. I'm surprised that they cast their second spell this turn. I guess they don't feel like the flutes are a fast enough clock. anyway, but I'm not sure why they would kill Maui with it. They'd already they'd already done a song this turn. Oh, but it didn't deal it any damage. Whatever. That was a bit of an error on my part, but I don't think it'll matter. There's so many rabbits now. I would have just had them dead. That was definitely a mistake. We could have just hit them with a single rabbit and done it instead. But it didn't really matter that much. I didn't realize that it had 0 power. I guess that's what the card that cantrips does. Diabolical actually felt good that game as well, even though we didn't play it. Because it felt like we had the ability to play it at any point without really being at a lot of risk. So it seems that our Game 2 opponent mulliganed in 6 uninkables, so they just didn't have the ability to play the game. I suppose that makes sense as to why they conceded so quick. Sometimes you get the old unplayable hand, and then there's not much that you can do. You just take the L and move on. I think that makes sense. Alright, so looking at this hand, it is a little light on inkables. Yeah, getting a little mana screwed, it happens. We are going second. So this hand is a little bit better. It has this package, which is nice. I kind of wish that this was something that was inkable, but it is nice that it can draw cards. I think I'm going to keep it. I think this is probably one of the sketchier keeps that I've done with this deck, but I think it has enough ink and spells that we can play, and with the extra card from drawing, I think we can make it work without having to sacrifice too much to still be able to friends on the other side into the rabbit, but then also having this shift as an option too. Like, if we can get this in play on 3, then this can just sing, and then that can get us our 4th one or whatever. So we'll see. Maybe it'll be a mistake. I actually don't think I play the mini this time. Given the way that our hand is, I think that this is going to need to be ink here. Stitch Surfer. Is this a Mufasa pile? I would guess that it is a Mufasa pile of some sort. We'll see what their second color is. It's possible that we already saw it and I just ignored it. That would not surprise me. Yeah, this looks like the Mufasa deck. Which makes me want to get rid of this Minnie Mouse. We'll play out the Tremaine. And then for one more, say go. I will likely be looking to Mim Fox and clean something up. If there's something to be cleaned up. Then we can just keep replaying the Lady Tremaine to keep relative lore under control here at least. If we can keep the Fox in play, even better. If we can't, we can't. But they played Doc, which is whenever it quests, they get a discount. Doc seems very strong. It seems like a very strong card. So I think we're out of the Minnie Mouse here, given the way that this game is going to play out, I think. So I'm going to floor with this, Mim Fox, bounce it back. We'll smash the Queen of Hearts here. And if they want to trade any of their things for the Mim, just 1 for 1, that's fine. Because then we can just follow it up with the rabbit here. And if they don't opt to... I see. Okay, so they're going to They're just going to eat the Mim with the Queen, which is acceptable as well. I don't love it, but that is fine. A 1-drop would have been nice there. I think given that we have the rabbit, we can get rid of the friends on the other side here. We'll run out the rabbit, draw a card, say go. We'll be playing towards the Be Prepared, but I'm going to try and use these Tremaines, including the little Tremaine. I believe that my next turn is likely going to be Tremaine plus Mim, and then we bounce the Merlin back to draw another card. I'm not sure which one of these I want to get rid of more. Whether it's the Dock or the Queen, we'll have to see. We'll have to see what they play on this turn here. Like, getting rid of the Dock does cut them off of some of their mana, or their resources, I guess. They can play something for 5. Could, in theory, put 2 damage on Dock, but if I'm not killing what they're doing, I don't really want to be putting damage on things. Yeah, pretty well for that reason. Get rid of the Maleficent Dragon here. I think given that they ran out of Rapunzel, it means their hand is probably just flush with Rapunzels. So I think what I'm going to do is quest here. We're going to Mim Fox, bounce it, and we're just going to trade with the Queen to get it off the board. And then I'm going to play the little Tremaine. I think the Dock is so strong because it's also a 2-lore character while it does your ramping, which I think is really interesting. I have tested it in some decks. It felt really good. So they play Lantern, Lantern, and nothing. Okay, that's good for us. So do we shift the Tremaine? I think so. So that forces them to choose the Dock, because if they don't, we just get to smash into it and eat it. And then I think I can just shuffle in or Inca Yzma here. Actually, we can get rid of this. We can keep the Yzmas. And then I think I do nothing with this, because I don't really want them to get any Rapunzel value out of the Tremaine when we don't need them to have that. So they play a 6-drop, they play a Tremaine themselves. Okay, that's fine. We're just going to untap and Be Prepared, I think. Given that we drew a Teeth and Ambitions, I feel like we can use that to clean something up on occasion here. So I think we're going to do it like this. We're going to Be-Prep that, they go. Hope they don't draw any Mufasas, because that's going to be difficult for us to deal with. Another Lantern. So their hand was just all Lanterns all the time. That makes sense, given how they had to play it. I don't think that I ink the mini. I think I just play it here and then say go. We can use the Yzma to, like, put the rabbit back in and draw a bunch of cards. Okay, so do this, do this. We will put the rabbit back in and draw a bunch of cards. Mostly because it just gives us a lot of resources to work with. So that I have more information. Information is really important here, so that we know what sort of answers that we have against what our opponent is doing. They play a Maui. Yep. that's fine. Maui plus nothing. Okay. So we'll Lady Tremaine it, because otherwise our Lady Tremaines are not super good anyway. And then we'll say go. We can use the Diabolical Schemes with either one of these as well. To just delete something if we need. Their hand could just be all Mauis all the time, which would be a bit annoying. We'll try to get the spellbook in on a turn where we have a little bit more resources that we don't need tied up. I wanted to save the Teeth and Ambitions just in case we had to use it. I'm going to play a Surfer Stitch. No, they play a free dock. Okay. With a free dock here, I think we run out Tremaine again. But we can shift it. And then put the 2 Tremaines back in our hand. Yep, then they conceded. As we shift it, we can Fox, put 2 Tremaine back in our hand, which is generally going to be very favorable for us, right? Because then we just have 6 more edicts or whatever. Just edict them into oblivion. I don't know what was in their hand that they couldn't play. Because they had 3 cards in hand. So I wonder... It's possible that it was like a Rapunzel or something and they were trying to angle for a line where they could draw extra cards or something, but... it definitely felt like we were in an okay spot there. Again, I haven't really needed to cast the Diabolical Schemes. Yeah, they could have B-prepped. No, well, yeah, they could have had B-prep. I don't know if... Yeah, I suppose they wouldn't have had the ability to cast it. That would make sense. If they were playing Be Prepared in their deck, for sure. I certainly wasn't playing around it since they only had 4 inks. And then 3 lanterns. So we go first. We definitely don't need the Be Prepared. Given this hand, I don't think that we need the Tremaine either. We can ink the Maui, probably. We'll play the mini, 2 things, mim it back, ink the mini, and then play the Merlin, and then whatever. Yeah, that's fine. So we'll still ink the Maui. We'll run out the Minnie Mouse here, and we'll say go. I, like, almost want more 1-drops in the deck, but I don't know where you would fit them in. So you don't really want to be drawing them off the top when they're not good, either. I think we'll do this and just get rid of 1 Fox. Because this is generally pretty good in this matchup, I would think. That's 2 Mim Snakes that they've gotten rid of, notably. I think we don't need this Teeth and Ambitions. And we want to run out this Minnie Mouse here. Still don't know what else they're doing in their deck. They could just slam an Arthur here, and then it's, you know... Okay, so they Surfer as well. So if they are going to Surfer, then we should maybe just try to keep up the pressure. Interesting. Just get him for 5. Ink this, play the rabbit. Or do we just sing this? I feel like getting the lore in is more important than not getting it in. Like, just doing this is better. I could be very wrong about that, though. But we have the Mim plus Rabbit, like this, to draw cards instead. Yeah, and they're on the try to draw into an answer here. I think I'd rather be in the market to try and close the game. They play a goat. So we quest with this. Get rid of this. We can quest here. 8, this will take us to 9. Yeah, I mean... like, maybe we are just in the world where we're doing stuff like this. Like, we may as well be the ones looking to close the game if they're just gonna draw cards, I suppose. I suspect that this goat is gonna smash the mini, sure. That would make sense to me. We'll see if they opt to... Alright, so they play a rabbit. I'm debating about this Tremaine. Or if we just keep the pressure on and start bouncing the Mim Foxes back. Especially if they play the Olaf. I'm kind of interested maybe in just running out this Minnie Mouse. Like we do this. This. We run out the Minnie Mouse. And then we bounce our fox. Like, we can very easily get to a spot where a goat off the top is just, like, big lethal. Yeah, they had to spend their whole turn doing Dragonfire just to slow us down a little bit. I don't think that you can get out-controlled in a deck that has literal direct face burn. Like, we can play our spellbook and go to 15, and then, like, we can't really be out-controlled here. You can also just, like, kill half their board this turn. If we are so inclined. I'm feeling like just doing this and this. Goes to 15. I wish we had one more mana. But I don't want to ink this Mim, because I wanted to cast the Mim. We could... It's a little greedy, but we could play the Mim to untap it first, and then ink the other one. Let's do it like this. Because now they're dead on board, just to what we already have. And we can start doing, like, Be Prepared plus Spellbook as well. So they Dragonfire that makes sense. Okay, we draw. We do this, and then we just be prep. Yep, Spellbook is right on time. Goat would have also been good in that spot, since we still had the Mims at that point. And then now it's going to sort of be on our opponent to close out the game before. Like, they have one turn to do it, 2 turns to do it because of the Aladdin here. The goat makes it a little trickier for them. The fact that this deck just has so much reach in the goats and like the spellbook and whatever is still very nice. Alright, that'll be 5-0. I've noticed in a lot of these mirror matches that you'll get players drawing a lot of cards. Like a lot of cards. Rather than playing stuff to the board. And believe me, I love drawing cards. I catch me with a grip of 20 cards in my hand whenever I possibly can. But I think when you both have a very similar draw engine and the ability to get resources, that it is more important to be putting pressure on than it is to just draw 20 cards. If you want to win the matchup, anyway. So I think there is a limit to the number of cards that you should draw. If you go back and look at all of our like RP mirrors that we've won, you'll see that a lot of times our opponent loses with like 8 cards in hand because they just don't have the time to play all of those cards. And then they lose with too many cards, basically, is what's happening. I think we get rid of the Be Prepared. This into this or this. Plus the Mim, like this is very good, and we can keep the Mauis for ink. Wow, this is a fucking banger of a hand. Woof, this is great. We are against Popsicles. Greetings. Oh, and we drew a Merlin? Yeah, this is a great hand. We play Minnie Mouse. I might even keep a Maui because they are generally pretty good against this deck, or they can be. Interesting. The Gaston version. Well, since we do the rabbit, we can get rid of the Maui. Since we have to play the Mim Snake this turn. Yeah, there's a fine line. If you can draw enough cards to set up like a Be Prepared and then still have a grip left, that is one thing. But if you're not in a position to like ever use all the cards in your hand, then you've probably drawn too many cards. And I think that is, like, you want to be able to use the resources that you're drawing into, if possible. It's not always possible, you know, and if that's the case, like, such is life, but if you can draw into all of them, it is generally better to do that. So we ink this, I believe. And then this is a really awkward, like, my Tremaine is really mid against what they're doing here. I'm debating if I just like let this Gaston eat this Mim. I kind of think that I do, even though I hate it. Because I need to get it off the field so that this Tremaine is better. And if their play is to play Flaversham and then like quest with Tala or whatever, then we can Tremaine into it and then shift. But I need the Gaston to not be there for that to happen. So I think we sort of have to commit to getting rid of that. Generally, you don't need the ramp so badly that you want to not just quest with it, because we're like kind of compelled to hit this most of the time. Like, I'm certainly going to just bash this here. I don't care if they ramp anymore. They're already 1,000 ink ahead of us. It just doesn't really matter. I believe that we just play our rabbit out here. Goats are good. We want all of these in our hand to eventually play them. We have a pretty good hand here. Did they just ink our Tremaine? Oh, goodness. Oh, that's not right. That's just not right at all. I don't recommend doing that. I don't recommend that at all. This is one of the reasons that I'm not a big fan of the big blue Hades in the ramp deck. Because, like, now we're caught up to them in the ramp, and they've discarded, like, half their hand to do what they've done so far. So it's a little awkward on the other perspective. I guess it limits our ability to shift. So that is something to note. Be prepared. I guess we just bash here. I don't really want to get rid of this Maleficent. But maybe it's fine. I'm thinking that I do this. So that if they have another Tremaine, it's fine. This gives us another Tremaine to work with. Grandma Tala is interestingly very good against opposing Tremaines. I'm surprised that they attacked in this spot, given that they know that we have a Tremaine here. Okay, they concede. That's fair. Their hand is pretty mid. We've caught up on the ramp, and they haven't drawn any draw cards. Like, we've kind of been burying them in cards here. They likely could have played it out and maybe drawn into something, but it is hard for them to out-control this deck. At least, hard for them to control it super well anyway. A nice, quick 6-0. Not too bad. An extra 20 points for the ladder. This will probably be a little bit of a shorter session. We might just go one more. But I did want to get in some games testing this one. I thought it was going to be pretty cool. Yeah, there is a ladder ranking. I can... here, let me go back. So right now it's based on if you reach Grandmaster, which is this rank right here. Shows you the wood, bronze, silver, gold, platinum, diamond, master, grandmaster. And once you reach grandmaster, like, you can't fall out of it. And the way that it works is you play a best of 4, basically. And if you lose 2 times before you win 3 times, then it resets. But if you win 3, 1, or better in a row, then you gain 10 points. So they can also be considered just like trophies or whatever. But it's basically how many sets of 4 did you have a 75% win rate on? And then it becomes, you know, how many games did you manage to play in that time period or whatever. So we've climbed quite a few points just playing this deck alone. In the last couple days here, we've gone up like 60 points or something, which is a decent percentage of our points so far. Yeah. I haven't really been grinding it super hard off stream. I played a lot of the Popsicle deck early on, which had a pretty high win rate to start before, you know, the meta adjusted to it. But now that I have been more just doing the videos, you know, getting up on YouTube and whatever, I just haven't been grinding as much offline. I'm busy doing some other stuff, but you know, we've still been holding our position somewhere on the top 25. I believe that they're also going to be resetting the ladder a lot more frequently now, from what I understand. There was an announcement about it. What did it say? Something. At the end of each month, mini-season, you'll be reset to the start of your current rank. Only your level will be reset. And then there's mini-season rewards. So basically, they're the seasons are going to be shorter and they're going to reset more often, which is fine. The rewards are card backs or whatever. This hand is not bad. It's not the fastest thing I've ever seen, but I think it's fine. Make this, play this, and then we have the Maleficent plus the Diabolical Schemes or the Teeth to deal with aggro. So for a hand going second, I think this is pretty good. This is what you would want to see most of the time if you're going second, I think, or something similar to this. The Maleficent here for ink. Play out the Minnie Mouse, say go. I've been considering cutting down on the Maleficent and maybe going back up to the 4th Maui, since we do ink it most of the time. Do I think Ravensburger will come out with their own client? I think at some point they probably will. It is not necessarily inevitable, but it is likely that they will make their own client. Do we have any real sense of when that is? Not really. I'm considering just taking out this Cindy here. Like, given that the way that our hand is, I don't know when we're going to be dealing with the Cindy otherwise. I don't think it'll take them that long. I suspect that if they really wanted to get something up and going, that they would likely, I mean, they would probably just take over this client and just, you know, be like, hey, I see that you've made a functional product, you know, bring on Pavel, have him do it, you know, give him a team or whatever, and then it wouldn't be that difficult to convert this into a more polished product. I think this is a very good product, like very, very good. But it does have some room for improvement, of course. So it's interesting. I'm considering getting rid of this for Friends on the other side and keeping the double Maleficent so that we have something to bounce with the Mim. But I think, because I just don't know when we're ever going to cast this otherwise, because I'm going to be singing this. I guess we can just cast this next turn then, if we want. Let's play Maleficent here. If they swords this, it's not great. But I definitely would have blasted this, I think. With the Diabolical Scheme, if it's an option. If they choose to leave it untapped, then that would be good for us. Oh. Well, I guess we just get to do it all then, huh? Sing this. Have you banish the queen. And then we can quest here. Play the Mim, bounce the Mini. Smack the Aerial. Get rid of the Mini. Feels like a pretty good turn to me. Feels pretty nice. We have removed all of their cards. We now have the ability just to draw 2 cards with this. I'm going to get rid of the 3rd, or that's the 4th Teeth and Ambitions. We'll run this out here. There we go. I'm doing very well. I'm doing well. Yeah, Pavel's been just really killing it here. Doing this for free and just having the Patreon pay for like server costs and then funnel directly to charity outside of that, which I think is really cool. Okay, so we are basically out of targeted removal. All of our Teeths are gone and 2 of our Be Prepareds. So we're a little light on the old removal suite here. These are not the best in this instance, because they can just clean up our board with Tinkerbell plus swords, which is not awesome. I wonder if we just have to start goading them to death. We do something like this, play a goat. We remove one of these. The goat back into our hand. Like, we just try to make him dead. Yeah, it's a lot of game to have made, and all of the extra quality of life and all the extra nonsense that they've added, which is, it's rare to see a lot of these features. Our opponent likely is going to wipe our board. Are they going to do it this turn? I wouldn't think so. They could, I suppose. They use a swords. I'm considering just B-prepping. We'll see what they discard. Yeah, this is also keeping the card game alive for sure. So they got rid of a Let the Storm Rage on. I'm really strongly considering using B-prep on this board. We could also... I don't really want them to shift the Cindy either. I'm considering, like, I could Maui this, get in for 2. I could Maui... I can't Diabolical. If they shift Cindy... I think I'm just talking myself into B-prep. Maui plus play the other snake to bounce the snake. Could do that. That's an interesting line. What am I... I'm getting rid of the mini, I suppose. Because they have easy answers to it. Yeah, I'd rather save the Be Prepared. I really want to get rid of this aerial, but I don't know if there's a way that I can afford to do that. I think we bash here. Do this. Do this. I mean, I could even just play Lady Tremaine, but I think it's probably fine to do this. And if the Maui's dead, the Maui's dead. My only concern is if they Whole New World, then our B-prep isn't very good. Yeah. That was my reasoning for thinking about doing the Be Prepared. I don't mind if they Whole New World me, but it is really unfortunate if we get Whole New Worlded and they were able to sing it. That's generally where you lose games a lot. So they grab your sword again, that's fine. Unfortunately, we lost 2 goats out of the deal. Or 1 goat, rather. We can clean up this board pretty well. They have a Cindy in hand. So if we quest here, we can Maui Fox, just kill both of these, and then all they have is the Cinderella. So let's get rid of Olaf. And then if they play the Cindy, maybe I do just Be Prepared. Because we have so many answers. Yeah. Yeah, I think the line that I thought of is probably the one that makes the most sense. We do this, doesn't matter which one we bash in what order. We smack both of these, and then say go. Like, I'd rather just have stuff on the board. The Be Prepared just hasn't felt great. It would have been okay in all the spots that we could have cast it, but I'm figuring that the Shift Cindy is going to try and just, like, eat something, and then we can even blast it with the Maleficent if we want. Or the Tremaine plus something else. Okay. Oh, they want to do Dude on their flute, I see. That's fine. We definitely want to run out the Tremaine then. We definitely want to run out the Maleficent Dragon then. Just blow up the board, but I'm okay just like blasting it. I'm impressed that they're doing Lantern plus Flute in the same deck, because I don't necessarily think that that's that strong together. Most of the decks that I've seen either run Flute or Lantern, not both, because otherwise your deck is just clogged with a lot of nonsense. I don't even... Okay, yeah, that makes sense. I was considering bouncing one of them in my hand, but I don't even know if it mattered either way. I don't know how they fit that in. That's a lot of items. That's 8 uninkables that don't really forward your game plan. I mean, I could see it being really aggressive, but like, where are you finding the time to cast those, I guess? I applaud them for testing it, however, because that Flute deck is not super limit tested, I don't think. Like, there's a lot of options available for it still. It's an interesting deck, at the very least. I saw that the price of Flutes has gone up quite a bit, which is interesting, I suppose. I don't know if it necessarily is going to hold at that high price. People are kind of jumping on the hype. This hand is okay. I think we can get rid of the goats. And we don't know if we need to get rid of these Mauis. I probably could have gotten rid of one of them, but we can just use them for ink, and then that's okay. We have a decent curve here. One, we can either do 2 with either one of these, depending upon what our opponent is playing. And then we've got the Minnie Mouse, which will carry pretty hard. They're playing red steel. Not a great matchup, I don't think, because they have a lot of answers to the things that we're doing a lot of times. The Fox was a good draw, though. We'll see. It might not be that bad of a matchup. Tangle. Huh? Okay. Fair enough. Do this, we mim, bounce it back, say go. This line is better against the Captain Hook, because then they can't just kill our Minnie Mouse for free. And it'll let us keep the Maui if we decide to get rid of the Minnie Mouse instead. Aladdin. Okay, into the Inkwell. And then they play one of their own. Okay. Back to 0 for us. Fair enough. I think we're getting rid of this Maleficent Monstrous Dragon here. Just gonna run out the Mini Surfer. And I think say go. I don't really need to trade this with the Captain Hook unnecessarily. Can afford to wait a little bit. This might get smashed. That's one of the risks against steel. Bodyguards. Interesting. Aladdin costs 4 or 5 to shift? I don't remember. Okay, we drew a spell book. I guess perhaps we just start getting some lore on. And maybe it will get beast blasted. If it does, it does. And they played Donald Duck. Musketeer characters gain evasive. And they opt to attack. Well, I don't think that that is going to work out super favorably for our opponent here. We'll get rid of one Yzma, play Maui. Maui smashes Donald, Mim smashes Captain Hook. And then we quest for 2. Yeah, I'm thinking that I want to go down on Maleficent Dragon down to 3, and then have Maui be a 4 of still. Maui is just so good. And both the Maleficent Dragon and the Maui are just ink, like, 80% of the time. You know, because either we just aren't at that point in the game, or it's just not good in those spots. But I want Maui's a lot more often, I think. So they Aladdin us, not entirely unexpected. Are they opting to kill Maui, or are they going to kill the Mim and then force our Maui to kill them? They decide to be scared and not attack. Okay, I can appreciate that. Let's do this, and then I think we get rid of the Mim Fox, play the Tremaine. I didn't actually need to get rid of the Mim Fox. I thought I had one more. But I had the spellbook, so I had one less ink. I was intending on Yzma-ing the Mim, so that they didn't have something to attack into with the Aladdin. But unfortunately, I made a little bit of a mistake there, but it's fine. I don't think it'll matter too much. Another Aladdin. Okay. Kind of scary. Yeah, this line wouldn't have been available if I hadn't spellbooked, but it's okay. I believe that we are still somewhat in the driver's seat here. I think we just do that and then play our rabbit here. Rabbit, what are you doing? What are you doing up there, bud? Huh? Rabbit, why are you hanging out in the middle and being all big? I wonder if I can quest with it up here. I suppose I probably can. So they opt to just quest with Aladdin because they don't think they have another alternative, which I think is fair. And then we get to Maui it. Could be. Sure could be. Battle here. Kind of just want to draw like a bunch of cards. I can't use this rabbit. I don't even think I'm going to be able to target it with my Yzma. Can I quest with it? Oh my god, it's not even in play! We're getting scammed! We have this never-ending rabbit. Well, whatever then, I guess. Can I... it's only suffering. The game will allow you to reconnect, but I don't believe that you can close it and reconnect. It will reconnect if it just loses internet connection briefly, but I don't think that you can close the game and reconnect currently. I've never tried it. It's not that big of a deal that we have Big Rabbit here. It's a handicap that'll allow us to still just lore out fine anyway. customers. It's like, I want this rabbit. Get him out of here. It is still fewer bugs than Pokemon, yeah. I wonder if they're confused that we're just not doing anything with this rabbit. A lot of the bugs in this game, here's sort of a pro tip. So this game was built in Unity, and you can animation cancel pretty much anything in Unity, especially Unity card games. This happened with Storybook Brawl a lot. It's happened with this game, where if you play too fast and you interrupt other things, that is when you'll get these visual bugs a lot. So if you just play a little slower, like wait until the animation finishes before you do the next action, you will see those issues a lot less. We were just playing a little fast. We interrupted the animation for the Aladdin to go to the discard, and because of that, we caused the rabbit to only half do something. But that is, like, the majority of the bugs are identical to what we saw in Storybook Brawl, which was also a Unity-based game, where sometimes you'll just get big cards, small cards, or, you know, you can animation cancel something and then it messes up something visually. It's just really interesting that it's just kind of a universal Unity problem that allows you to interrupt the other animations. But definitely if you're struggling with a lot of stuck cards like that, just playing a little slower so that the animations finish should help. We are on a bit of a heater. We are 8-0 right now. Pretty sick. Pretty sick run. The Diabolical Schemes have felt not bad. This hand is pretty good. We can get rid of the goat. Don't really need the goat. We don't really need the Yzma, but we can always ink it too. Tremaine's actually not a bad draw here. Yeah, I think I'm going to ink the Yzma. Play out the mini and say go, and then we can always bounce it with the Mim Snake. And then we can ink it on turn 3. Looks like we're against Popsicles, maybe. Could be Blue Steel as well. I am okay with inking the Maui here, given that we have the Tremaine and the Diabolical. Upgrade our mini to a 3/3 and then put the card back into our hand. Kind of feels like you're just making game actions to make game actions, but I'm weirdly okay with it. Get rid of the mini. I'm going to play the Maleficent, draw a card. Quest here, say go. You want to put pressure on this deck. That's the easiest way for you to beat the Popsicles, assuming that this is Popsicles. Is you just put pressure on them, make it so that you get to 10, 12, 13 lore, and then you can kind of close the game out with goats. This deck doesn't really have great answers to goats. So you can kind of just get there before they, like, once you get to the point of controlling the game, you just start playing goats and bouncing them back, and then you can sort of bully them a little bit, because then it is on them to have answers to it, rather than you needing to have answers to it. I actually think I'm going to sing this, so we have time. Could just play another one, or we could play the rabbit. Yeah, I should have played the rabbit. It's fine. Because then we would have been able to have this would have been gone and we would have just had the rabbit in play. This gives us more card draw, realistically. I'm kind of okay with. Winnie the Pooh having a think, huh? Okay, bud. I've been seeing this popping up more and more. I suppose it's just Fishbone Quill's number, you know, 5, 6, 7 or whatever. It's interesting. I think the fact that we can, like, just kill it with Diabolical Scheme or whatever makes it a little weird as a card, just because, like, there's easy answers to it. Not sure why we attack with Noi this turn, but not the other turns. But I'm okay with it. We'll just bash here. We can ink this. Do I even care about this Winnie the Pooh? Like, they already have the Fishbone Quill. I don't think I do. I'm just gonna play the rabbit. I may or may not ink this. We may save it if they're playing the Tremaines. Like, I don't know if they want to ink their whole hand and just, like, be down to no cards left. I'm kind of fine with it. Like, the Winnie the Pooh doesn't really have any... it's just like a 2/3, 2 lore. So it's a Judy Hopps or whatever. Yeah. They just passed the turn. Okay. We could bash this Tremaine. I care. I kind of don't. If they want to race, I think I'm okay racing. I think I'm okay with a race. Because I don't think that they're winning this race currently. Let it go. We're losing our rabbit or our goat? I would suspect the goat. The goat is the best target here. Yep, that's fine. Winnie the Pooh having a thing, huh? Alright, they'll go to 7 here. I think now we can probably Tremaine them. Given what is left in our hand. Because that's still lethal either way. And this way we get to clean up the board. Sort of force their hand. We could choose to bounce something back to our hand. Maybe the rabbit. I actually think that's not a bad idea. Gives us more draw if they do board wipe us. I'm feeling pretty good about this board. So we have exact lethal if they do nothing. If they board wipe us, we still have the Merlin rabbit, and we've got the Tremaine and the Be Prepared. Like, we're firmly in control here. There's a Tamatoa. We have, what, a Maleficent to hit the Lady Tremaine. So that's fine. Yep. No problem. Alright. Quest of everything. Just play out Lady Tremaine. This card is just, like, absurdly good. It's so strong. We can get rid of Olaf just to draw some cards. Say go. Kinda doesn't matter either way. But we may as well. Now, if they board wipe us, that's fine. We just follow it up with a couple of rabbits, and if they don't, we take the 9-0. I'm A-okay with that. So, yeah, that was a pretty solid run. I would say that while this deck is obviously not the most exciting as far as you know, a lot of people are playing it. There's kind of a reason that so many people are playing it, right? So let's refresh this real quick just so that it updates the score that we have. Like, I've played several different variations on this deck, and we still have a pretty good win rate on it. Over almost 50 games now. And with this latest change, like, we're undefeated. We've battled the orange-gray, which is the Steel Song decks, and I didn't feel like we were terribly unfavored there. Like, normally you would think that Steel would be pretty good against us, but, I mean, a pretty good spread overall, so, yeah, I think I am A-okay with this change for the, Most Diabolical Scheme. I think it's quite strong. It's possible that, like, you could go down to 3 Tremaines and then still run the Maui and the Maleficents just to have more ink. Like, there's a world where just having more inkables is interesting too. Since we're already kind of rough on the inkable count. Let me bring up the deck in the actual profile real quick here, just so they can see it. This one. So here's the deck that we played. We went 9-0, undefeated, pretty great. The major changes to this versus the other one is that we added some Most Diabolical Scheme. And we didn't play it very often, but it felt very good in our hand even still. It felt like we had options with it that, you know, we could sing it or double spell in turns where we normally wouldn't necessarily have been able to do that with something like Dragonfire. The fact that this is a song, I think, is very interesting in a deck like this. We were able to keep our uninkable count still not the best. 17 is a little high. But as long as we're making sure to mulligan appropriately, I think that the ink count is not so bad. As long as you make sure that you're not keeping, you know, Spellbook and too many of the sort of rabbits and Diabolicals and Be Prepareds in your hand, and keeping things like Yzmas, Maleficents, Mauis, stuff that you can ink early and it's not so bad, are pretty important to hold on to. You'll see that in a lot of my mulligan decisions, I'll hold on to things that I'm okay inking just to make sure that my hands are functional. Because it is very easy with this many uninkables to mulligan into a hand that you can't really play with, which is not ideal. So, yeah, if you want to check this deck out, certainly do it. If you want to make it a little bit cheaper, like I said, I think that you could go down on the Maleficent count to increase the Mauis a little bit. Maui's quite a bit cheaper here. I don't necessarily think that it matters as much for the mirror. So the Diabolical Schemes add the ability to defeat opposing Stylish Surfers. Like, this card is probably one of the better ones in the mirror, is the Surfer. If you get to the point where, like, we're playing an exact mirror a lot more, then we're going to need more tech to be able to interact with them. But this exact list, like the one that's running, like, the Stylish Surfers instead of the Arthurs or whatever, is not, you know, necessarily always going to run into other people playing the same outcomes. Like, the Stylish Surfer is there because it is functionally the same as a spellbook, except it's also inkable. Because this can easily get you 4 or 6 lore on its own before they have an answer, like a Tremaine or something. Just because none of the cards that we're playing, like, we have to double teeth it. You either have to Surfer attack into it and challenge it with Teeth and Ambitions to be able to take one out, or have something like Diabolical Scheme. Or in the one game, we ended up, it was 2 Dragonfires, and they literally were paying 5 and using their entire turn to deal with our single Minnie Mouse Surfer while we were doing other stuff. We were still forwarding our game plan, and they're just like, their whole turn is spent blasting our one card. So sometimes there just aren't as good of answers, because Maui doesn't really answer it, which would normally be the way that you would deal with problems like that. I think the Stylish Surfer fills this role pretty well. Like, yes, if you're not running this, then you probably would need more spellbooks, but it's very easy to get clogged on spellbooks because they are uninkable, right? And you don't really want a lot of them, and you don't need them until, you know, pretty late in the game when you're looking to close. It's very good for us. Every time I've had the spellbook, it's been very good. But a lot of times, in a lot of these games, the Surfer is able to get, you know, that 4 or 6 lore, and that's about the same that a spellbook is going to get you over the course of the game anyway. You know, that's 6 turns of doing spellbook and 9 lore, or 9 ink. That's a lot. So, I definitely think that the numbers on these can always change, like going up to 5 of this type of an effect. You know, adding like a Merlin Crab so that you can use your Surfer to defeat their Surfers. There's a lot of interesting meta decisions and meta choices that you can make, I think, with a deck like this. And I do think that the Diabolical Scheme is really good in the mirrors, because often you're going to have boards that are just full of, you know, Maleficent Sorcerers and Snakes or whatever, and this allows you to take out the cards that actually matter, which are Arthur, the Stylish Surfer, etc., and not have to pay the resource for it. This being a song, I think, really sets us apart, that I was impressed with, because, like, Dragonfire is great. Don't get me wrong. Just blast whatever you want. Banish it straight up. But if you're also losing your turn to do that, especially when, you know, we want to be double spelling on turn 5 a lot. We want to be playing like a 3-drop and the Mim Snake or whatever, you know. We want to be playing spells to the board, not spending our whole turn dealing with a problem, if we are trying to be a tempo, a game plan, which what I like about this deck is that it has the ability to play tempo, it has the ability to play control or that aggressive role if it wants. So overall, pretty good. Let's see if anybody else is on. It's pretty late here. Lorcana. It looks like nobody else is on. Such is life. It is pretty late on a Sunday, so. But I do appreciate everybody for hanging out. Thanks for watching. You can find the deck in the chat or in the description, and I will see you next time.